Hey guys, thanks for listening to The Cynical Nerd. Please keep in mind that we do not avoid spoilers for any of our topics, whether they are current or past media. Listen at your own risk.
Oh, damn it.
How's it going?
Not too bad. You know, it's going. It's happening. You told me you had a story you wanted to tell me.
Oh yeah, I don't remember what it is though.
Yeah.
It was like a week. It was like a week and a half ago. Sorry guys, we missed last week. Just scheduling. Really, it was nothing crazy happened or anything. Just literally.
Well, something crazy did happen. I signed up for a 7-week course like an asshole, and I got one day into it, and then decided this is too much. Way too much.
Right.
Dropped that one, got another one, and now apparently I'm taking a course on the fucking MCU. So,
I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you have me like scrolling back through our chat. I'm like, shit. There's got to be.
I don't even remember what spurred it, so I couldn't even. Yeah, I couldn't even jog your memory.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Although I will say, reason I love my wife. She's downstairs. We're getting ready. I had that burrito before we started, and she heated up some Hot Pockets, like real choice cuisine. And she's like, she pulls out the frozen one. She's like, "Oh, motherfucker!" And I'm like, "What?" She didn't say motherfucker because our son was right there. I'm emphasizing for comedic effect. She's like, "Oh, there's cracks in the pastry. Like it's gonna fucking burst as soon as it gets in the microwave. Like that's what she's worried about." And I was like, "Oh, it's all right, no big deal." She's like, "It's gonna moist." And I was like, "Can you imagine if we were having sex and that's how I told you I was gonna come?" oh, I'm gonna moist.
I'm about to moist.
Oh, I'm gonna moist.
It's the moist boist right there.
Yeah. I had to turn the exposure down on my camera because whenever we record at like 2 p.m., I have a window directly behind my monitors, and my forehead becomes white like a piece of paper because there's so much exposure on it.
We received that criticism from Nick once before. He said that we need to clean our foreheads or something. I can't.
Well, we're supposed to get better cameras, and we haven't done it. But I fixed the incredible washed out look by just lowering the exposure on the camera a little bit.
You look excellent. I got to say, you look great. If I was there with you, I'd kiss you. Just a little one.
I don't know.
No time.
Just a little smooch. Last week we talked about, 2 weeks ago now, but last episode we talked about we weren't going to cover Boba Fett anymore until the end unless something cool happened. Well, something really cool did happen. Yeah. And we're definitely going to talk about episode 5 of Book of Boba Fett today. Book of Boba Fett today. And we have a couple we can review. They're all kind of just fun things to hit off. Nothing crazy. Some trailers to go through. And then we have 4 main topics because that's Antlers, which we watched, we'll talk about later. Archive 81. I finished Archive 81. I assume you only watched the first 2?
I think I watched the first 4.
Oh, okay. I mean, like halfway through.
Yeah.
And then Peacemaker episodes 4 and 5 now, although I don't. Because I only remember what happened in the latest one. I can't tell you what happened 2 episodes ago.
Okay,
specifically. I mean, I know I've seen it, but I'm not going to be able to talk about it. And then Boba Fett episode 5, because I keep forgetting. Boba Fett episode 5. Yeah. Boba. Works perfectly. 2 syllables, 2 quotation marks. I don't know. So anyway. How you doing today, Derek? How are things?
They're going. I have like this as evidence just right there. This little tickle going on, a little cough. I'm gonna try to lean away for these. I'm not like you have this like quick draw mute button ability that like I don't have. Like it's too inexact of a spot that I have to like turn my head, and I just can't before the cough comes out do it. So I just gotta kind of get out of my.
Oh, I said my mute button works great, but I said it while I was muted.
That was very, very slick.
No one could hear me. I just have a Elgato Stream Deck here. Not, it's just the 15 button one. It's not crazy.
Oh, it's the same one I have. I guess I should probably get that set up.
Oh yeah. You can program a key that will allow you to mute a device. So I have it mute my mic. It's adorable. works perfectly too. Every once in a while, I notice if the Stream Deck software isn't running, it will not, which I guess makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, I'm like, mute, and it just doesn't work.
That would be a nightmare, though. Like, what if you muted and then you just started talking about, like, the hemorrhoids in your asshole or something while you were live on stream?
That's a pretty common conversation around here.
Yeah.
But welcome to episode 53 of the Cynical Nerd. Yeah. Okay. We'll get going. We'll get rolling.
Let's get the ball rolling.
I really want to talk about some of our main topics today. And well, that's not true. I want to talk about all of them, and for various reasons. Some good, some bad, some in the middle. But first and foremost, right off the top, I think everyone knows this by now because we're a week and some change ago. I think Microsoft is closing in on a $50 billion deal to buy Activision Blizzard. My man Derek over here posted one of the best digs at Blizzard that I can remember. If you don't follow us on Twitter, go do that. Oh, natural plug at the Cynical Nerd. We're just over here spouting bullshit and dirty, gross memes as much as we can. And Blizzard released a picture of typically studios will release or announce a game that's like crazy early in development because they do that alongside hiring for that game. So they announced this is unannounced survival game. And Derek quickly shot back with, we are hearing that you start off as a female intern at Blizzard, which was just chef's kiss. I was so over the moon by that comment. I was like, I'm taking it. I'm putting it on our Twitter.
Yeah, and then like a cum tribute page on Twitter liked that post. So win-win, I guess.
We've discovered the hidden keys of Twitter is just to get all the filthy people on your page. Like, the last time we had an insanely well retweeted and liked post was the into the Spider-Verse one where she's looking through his notebook and someone photoshopped in a picture of like a super thick Gwen from like Rule 34 in there. And we tagged it with a bunch of stuff and people were just thirsty on Twitter, dude.
The way you monetize anything you do is to just get all the sexual deviants to start following you. I think that's the key to success on the internet.
Yeah, if we've been taught anything by what we've done so far. But anyway, I digress, actually. Or not I digress. I was incorrect. It's closer to a $70 billion deal, not a $50 billion. That headline's actually wrong. Maybe it was an old one. Maybe they retitled it. Who fucking knows? But that has rather large implications for the gaming industry. First and foremost, people were yelling, like, if you're going to do that, you have to fire the CEO, Bobby Kotick. Behind the scenes conversations have come out since this announcement that it sounds like he's only going to be staying on for the transition and then he will be resigning. So great. He's disappearing at some point soon.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Hopefully. But this means that Microsoft is going to own Overwatch, Diablo, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, stuff like Candy Crush because of the developer King does mobile stuff. StarCraft. I mean, they're going to have the keys to the kingdom of properties from my childhood, TM, like the things that I grew up doing, playing StarCraft Brood Wars with my buddies on LAN connections, dial-up connections, like direct point to point. Like I would put in like his fucking address and call him up and it would be me and him and we'd be on a custom map and it would be a map that could hold 8 camps. It was this custom map where like every starting area was cut off by water on all sides except for like one choke point, and which had the crystals lined up in like a pattern around it. And we would do, me and him, Alex Shepard, shout out, buddy, against 6 computers, just 6 AI. So it was like overwhelmingly AI, but if we could survive past the initial couple of waves and actually get fortified, we would play the long game. And the choke point obviously would serve to stave them off, and then we would build. Usually went Protoss, fucking toss, and we would go the long con and build the starports, and then the fighters, and we would just get like groups and groups, like 4 or 5 groups of just like starships, and just wipe the entire map, and it was so satisfying. And that's a complete tangent off of the actual conversation we're having.
I just want to add to that. Did you ever like miss something in your childhood? Like people talk about something. And like you never
played StarCraft?
I never played StarCraft. Like I missed that whole. And now when I go back and play it, it's aged pretty poorly. So like I can't get into it. And I feel like if you played it then, you can forgive how poorly it's aged.
100%. It's like Star Wars, to be honest.
Yeah. But not when you didn't play it when you were a kid. I actually, like 3 or 4 years ago, right before Veronica and I met, tried to get into it and I just couldn't. And I hate that. Like everybody has such fond memories of it. I completely missed that whole wave. I didn't really like, because that was PC only, right? Yeah, it had to be PC only. I wasn't really playing PC games until I was like a grown up. So there's just a lot of shit that I missed. And
that makes me
I'm sad about it.
Yeah.
But about this merger, let me just say before I say anything about like how I feel or whatever, the amount of money, which I guess is now $70 billion, is like unfucking believable to me. I can't, that number, like, it's just unfathomable. Like, didn't Lucas sell Star Wars to Disney for $4 billion?
4, yeah.
So like, what the fuck? How is Activision Blizzard a more profitable company than all of Star Wars? I just can't wrap my head around like how they got that number. Of course, all the abusers in Activision Blizzard are now going to have their like golden parachute into just not having to deal with any of that and comfy retirements for the rest of their lives. So that's a nice little bow on the end of that saga.
Right.
That part of it sucks. And initially, I was of the camp of people who were saying that now, like, oh, well, you basically have Microsoft doing the thing they've been doing for the past year, which is buying up all these studios. And so it makes you wonder, is like the AAA market going to now be even more homogenized than it already has been for the past 10 years? But I think I actually kind of switched teams, to be honest. Like, I'm wondering now, like, there's been so many complaints about Blizzard beyond, not even talking about the abuse stuff, just their games for so long and how there's this like really poor community management happening with them, with a lot of their games. And so I'm just wondering if a little change could possibly be a good thing.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm optimistic, but I think initially I was kind of like scoffing at it and just being cynical and going like, oh, this is going to be a shit show. But I think since then I'm kind of just like, well, wasn't it a shit show already? So there's really only like one direction it can go. I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, sorry, could have muted myself, did not. It's a personal choice. You just gotta live with it. I thought the same thing. I kind of thought, well, Blizzard's been kind of going down the tube, so I mean, maybe a change in leadership is going to be better. Maybe this is the complete optimist inside of me talking, but maybe Microsoft takes these and realizes how like revered these properties are in the gaming community, and it does an influx of like cash to them, and they attract talent to Blizzard because they get rid of Bobby Kotick and the other poisonous management. Hey, maybe this shit has a wonderful comeback, and you know what? I hope it does. I hope for the best. I know they're all corporations and shit, but that Blizzard was a huge chunk of my gaming adolescence, and I love the Warcraft universe. People are talking about like maybe they'll help them make WoW too. I don't know about all that. Even if they just went and did a World of Warcraft 4 and made another RTS, I'd be down for that. Like just make shit people like and stop shortchanging them. Stop making it shittily. Stop cutting corners. It's what they've been doing for years.
Yeah.
Ever since Activision purchased them, it's been downhill. And obviously some of this poisonous management has been around before Activision, but Activision is when quality started to tank into the ground. So, a lot of people were worried about the gaming industry kind of coalescing around these mega huge companies that own everything else. It's like everything else in the world.
Yeah.
And anywhere capitalism exists, eventually the most powerful ones buy everything else. I mean, do I like it? No, not necessarily, but there is a chance there that we'll get some good games out of it. And, I'll be optimistic for now.
Yeah.
I'll be hopefully optimistic. I found out what I was going to open the podcast with, but I have no idea what I was referencing. So I'm just going to tell you, I messaged you 3:20 p.m. when we were trying to try and record last week. And I said, I have a story to tell in our opening about Meatloaf. Don't let me forget. I have no idea what it was. Meatloaf, if you've been living under a rock, has passed away. I wasn't going to bring it up because we're not a music podcast. And also it's Meatloaf, right?
Yeah.
I mean, was he kind of a piece of shit towards the end of his life?
And it's like when someone dies and they're like a big fat piece of shit and they don't take care of themselves, it's kind of like when he was like 73 or something, wasn't he? It's not like, oh my God, what happened? Like, he died. That's what happened. He lived his whole life. He did drugs, and then he died in his 70s.
He was 73. He was overweight his entire life. And he did lots of bad things to his body. So, I mean, yeah, no. I mean, if I died at 73, I would expect not a lot of people to be super surprised by it. Well, I mean, that's kind of fucked up, but you know what I mean. All right, next piece of news. I'm waking up. I get this coffee going through my veins. There's going to be a Weird Al Yankovic movie, which is so fucking weird. I know it's Weird Al Yankovic, so calling it weird is like, whatever, self-fulfilling prophecy. Daniel Radcliffe is going to be portraying Weird Al, which is the weirdest shit. And also, I'm super excited about it because I love Weird Al. Talk about news articles this week that were staples of my adolescence. I had a couple Weird Al. I forget how I was introduced to him, but I had a couple cassettes and later CDs of him. And when I was younger, I'm talking like probably like between 9 and 13 or something, I would have this little cassette player, this little like mini one, although like it was mini, but it was like really like this big, you know, sitting in the corner of my bed that I would play music when I was falling asleep. And I used to just, Weird Al was just constantly playing. Like I was this weird kid who was playing like Weird Al. I forget the name of the CD that it's on, but the Star Wars parody song, that was the album. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I can sing that song like the back of my fucking hand.
All I remember is Amish Paradise, and there's like a music video, and he's like churning something, and there's sweat just like pouring off of him like by the gallon. It's like ridiculous. I'm gonna watch that music video when we're done, when we wrap up.
Amish Paradise. I mean, he had so many good songs.
He's Gump.
There's he's I forgot about that. And he's Gump. They had the bad Michael Jackson's Bad parody. I'm Fat. I remember really obscure ones. They did a parody of Aerosmith's Living on the Edge called Living in the Fridge, and it was literally about like old food that was moldy. Like I can't, the lyrics were, it's living in the fridge, you can't stop this mold from growing. Like just, it was so good. I mean, look, Weird Al's an obscure character, but he's seemingly like beloved across the music industry. Like people just love what he does. Like he's just a weird dude, but he's always been himself. He's never tried to be anything else but this. He's just like, this is who I am. I make funny, silly songs, like parody songs. And so they're making a fucking biopic about him.
I think it's awesome that they're getting Daniel Radcliffe to do it too, because I really do find him to be an interesting guy, because he pretty much had like not that he's a struggling actor or anything, but I mean, he had a golden ticket into just being sort of the headlining guy, you know, in every recycled plot blockbuster movie for all of time, and make hundreds of millions of dollars by starting off his acting career as Harry Potter. But he's actually tried to distance himself from that, like as much as he can in his adult life, nobody calls him Harry Potter like they did when he was a kid. Everybody knows him as Daniel Radcliffe. I mean, that was his whole goal. It's like all the characters from that 70s show. You used to call them by their character name on the show. Now everybody knows their names. So I think he does take on these weird kind of projects that he personally thinks that he can breathe life into. And most of the time he can. So I think he's a great pick for it. I agree. I think you hit all the notes with Weird Al Yankovic. It sounds like you were a little bit more of a fan than I was. I was like a casual fan.
Maybe I was.
He's also a guy with a very interesting career. And it is, you know, like over all this time, he's kind of dipped in and out of relevance, but he's always like in all the different like circles of different kinds of music. And so you'll just see him pop up here and there. It's like everybody fucking knows him and just like accepts him. He's like this weird silent giant in the industry. So I think it'll be cool.
I feel like all it takes for him to become relevant again is just to make another album, because he's always parodying the most famous at the time stuff. So it's like, oh, the song I hear on the radio all the time, here's this hilarious parody version. You know, like he did that song off of Pharrell. It was Happy, and he did another version of it. I forget what it was, but that was recent. Daniel Radcliffe. I actually don't think Daniel Radcliffe had the golden ticket after Harry Potter. I think most of those actors got typecast, and they all suffered a lot after Harry Potter trying to get other. I know a lot of the other actors and actresses besides Emma and Daniel suffered horribly because they were like, "Well, no, you're Ron Weasley." Like,
yeah, I was going to say Rupert Grint. He's
right?
Like,
yeah,
never could take off from it. Yeah.
What's his name? Thomas, who plays
Felton,
who plays
or something.
Felton. Yeah, I think it's his name. He was in like Planet of the Apes. He's been trying to work, and he has been finding work, but it's been, more obscure stuff here and there.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think it was that hard for Daniel Radcliffe. I think being the star of Harry Potter, him and Emma kind of got the easier ways out. Poor Rupert Grint once again did not. But I don't necessarily think they were like, "Hey, come start in all of our blockbusters," because I think for at least a couple years afterwards, he's still typecast as Harry Potter. They're like, "Oh, you're this kid," but he gravitated absolutely towards these weirder projects. Swiss Army Man. There was a lot of. I still never saw it. But I keep hearing it's good. Yeah, I keep hearing it's good. Isn't it Paul Dano too?
Yeah.
I gotta watch it now because he's about to be the.
Well,
Riddler.
let's just cover it next week. Boom, there we go. There's one film.
Boom! I'm gonna forget that before the end of the podcast. Let me write it down. Got old man brains.
Plus, the directors who are making that have that movie Everything Everywhere All at Once or whatever. The same people who made Swiss Army Man are making that movie. So
nice.
Somewhat relevant, sort of, kind of.
Sort of, kind of. Also. Yeah, okay, so moving on to the next news of the week. This is a really quick one. Peacemaker's been doing bonkers numbers for them, apparently, like one of the highest streamed DC titles of all time or some shit like that, some crazy fact. James Gunn's been getting a lot of press because of that. He says there's a Peacemaker character that will return for a big DC movie in the future. The popular consensus is that it's probably Harcourt. Just because... she's like she's basically like a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the MCU. She's the equivalent of that. She's a member of Argus, I believe. I forget the exact wing of the government Amanda Waller works for, but the popular choice is Amelia Harcourt. I like all the characters of Peacemaker. I don't have a problem with any of them. They've been growing on me even more week to week. So that's really all there is to it. I mean, I have a lot more to say about Peacemaker, but that's when we talk about the episode later.
Yeah, I was going to start to break into that, but I'm like, well, hang on. I might as well just save all the shit I have to say about that until later.
Yeah, but the chainsaw. Oh, okay. We'll talk about that later. And this is just an annoyance. Last up on the list of week in review, something came out. So Pablo Hidalgo is a popular name if you know a lot about the background of Star Wars. He's on the basically storyboard, the collection of writers who kind of like steer the whole universe, like where it's going to go. They have their irons in all the fires, making sure things work together. He's just a Lucasfilm
executive. Is that a term,
right now.
Or did you just make that up? They have all their irons in all the fires.
No, people say that.
Okay. Well, either way, I'm taking it. I was just going to give you props if you had just come up with that on the spot because I thought it was really cool.
Let's rewind. Yeah, it's totally mine. If you'll recall, a nerd like me definitely recalls the name of the planet system. Well, the system and the planet specifically that they destroyed in Force Awakens with the big Death Star ripoff was called Hosnian Prime. You probably don't remember that because when they were like, "Oh no, Hosnian Prime," we're all like, who lives there? Like, what even is that planet? And if you recall in the film, there's a quick shot of a huge, very Coruscant-esque city of people on balconies talking, and it looks like like a Senate or political setting before it gets blown up and the planet gets disintegrated. Well, turns out our boy JJ actually wanted to do what I would consider the right thing, and he wanted them to be destroying Coruscant. That's why Hosnian Prime is there. That's why it's a little no-name planet. JJ actually wanted them to destroy the heart of galactic civilization, which through separate tertiary medium, like comics, things like that, they had established. However, people watching the movie don't fucking know that. So in the comics, Hosnian Prime, after the Empire fell, they reestablished the New Republic's capital on Hosnian Prime and in the Hosnian Prime system. But no one knows that. No one knows that because 30 years has passed, and there at the time when Force Awakens came out, there was barely any filler in between. I think there was a couple novels that came out beforehand, like prequel novels that talked about it, but JJ wanted to make the big bold move. He wanted to destroy the planet that everyone knew the name of. That would have actually had some kind of impact on us. We would understand how much the First Order had just done, like what kind of damage they had just done.
Well, it would make them seem like an actual threat. I mean, it's right. Like I feel like throughout the entire new trilogy, they're described as basically like people who took the remnants of the Empire and created this new. And so you have this sense that they're this like fringe, group of extremists or something. And it's not until the end on, is it Exegol? Is it the planet with what's his name on it? Palpatine.
Yeah. With
all the Death Stars that they just pulled out of their asses, that they go like, oh, this is an actual, like, this is an actual, like, military, like, this is a thing. The whole time, I just felt like there was no real reason to be afraid of them. It's like, where's the fucking rebel army to just, like, take these guys out? I feel like taking a well-known thing like Coruscant and just 86ing it from the universe forever would have made you take the Fallen Order, the First Order more seriously.
Right.
And like, I just feel like this is like this isn't the first time I've said it. This is my biggest issue with like modern media, is that nobody wants to take big story beats and make actual sacrifices and take away things that actually matter and make you, that's why everybody loved the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. They took main characters and they just killed them, like not even in honorable ways. They were just like stabbed in the back and died in a fucking gutter. It's like, and it sucked because you invested your emotions into this character and they just died so meaninglessly. And it's like, I don't know. I just think that there needs to be more of that in cinema and in TV shows. More people dying in a ditch. More red weddings.
I mean, I agree. I mean, talking about the theme that became quintessential to that new trilogy later on. I mean, it wasn't so prevalent in Force Awakens, but it was. I can't remember exactly the first time Kylo uttered the phrase like, forget the past or destroy the past or whatever. I mean, that would have felt so well in line there. And if I don't understand that decision. I mean, you talk about a planet that we've seen in multiple Star Wars movies that we all have seen, and I mean, you don't grow attachments to planets, but that's a place that we're all very familiar with. Yeah. It feels to storytellers safe, or sorry, moviegoers safe to be like, you're on Coruscant, okay. Mm-hmm. You don't expect the planet to fucking blow up, right? It's not Endor, I just think it would have been so much better. We're kind of saying the same thing over and over. It feels like a pussy move, to be honest with you. Yeah. Like if JJ was like, I want to blow this up, and they're like, nah, don't do it. And then they make the weird fucking move to go out of their way to say that they moved the New Republic like headquarters or capital to this other system. Okay, well, that's actually also your excuse to still blow up Coruscant, right? Because now it's no longer the galactic center. So, like, fucking do it. Like, whatever. Poorly thought out, poorly planned. I mean, we knew there are problems with the new trilogy. That was just. I've been thinking about it all week. I got to be honest with you. I know it's such a stupid small article, but it's been like digging at me. I couldn't wait to shit on it for it. Anyway, moving on. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whole trailers to talk about. Some shows. Some games, I lied. All shows, some shows based on games. That's what I meant to say. First up is, I've been waiting. Derek does this thing to me, where he tickles the shaft. No, I'm kidding. He won't tell me what he thinks about certain items that he knows I really want to know what he thinks about, and it drives me fucking crazy. Yeah. And now I've had to wait 2 weeks this time for this. So the first trailer here is for the Marvel Studios Moon Knight starring Oscar Isaacs with Ethan Hawke in it, who looks just like he's going to be fucking amazing. This series is going to release. They also gave us a release date, March 30th. So just 10 whole days after my birthday, we're going to get Moon Knight. You're all welcome. I assume they're giving it to me as a belated birthday present. Derek, how'd you feel about this trailer? And this series?
I feel like I hate Oscar Isaac's voice and accent in it so much. It just makes me turn inside out like a slug. And everything else about it was really good. It looks really interesting. I like that there was not enough at all in this trailer for me to piece together what's actually going to go down in the show. I mean, he's going to become a superhero, right? We've seen superhero shows before, but there just wasn't a lot to put together a narrative. I feel like trailers nowadays kind of give away the whole fucking show or the whole movie before you go see it. And then you're kind of just like identifying parts that you saw in the trailer throughout. And this just looked like, I don't know if they like called it a first look or a trailer, but it seemed like just a first look more than anything. Like it was just a couple shots, looks well done, well developed. Yeah, I mean, I'm on board. I from the beginning I know nothing about Moon Knight. I've never read any comic he was in, even of the very few comics that I have read. I know that he's a beloved character. People really like him. And I know he's a very funny character too. So I look forward to it.
Word. I'm looking forward to it. His British accent is a little wonky, but it reminds me of like when I do a British accent. So
yeah, it's like he's faking it.
So in my mind, it's totally okay.
Right.
I actually look. I always thought Moon Knight was kind of a joke because he's basically a ripoff of Batman. If Batman had dissociative identity disorder, which is what this character suffers from. But honestly, watching this trailer, I got really excited for it. There's a cool tinge of a little bit of horror in there. I mean, especially when there's a couple scenes where he looks in the mirror and the lights flash for a second. You see the Moon Knight persona. If you don't know who that is, it's horrifying. You know, there's the one scene where he thinks he sees Khonshu. I believe it's Khonshu. That's the Egyptian god who gives him his powers. Walking down the hallway with like a scythe in his hand. And gets all the way to the door, and it turns out to be an old lady, and he's like freaked out on the floor. Yeah. So there's this really cool thing going on in this trailer where you're not sure. He's tying himself to the bed, and you know they don't really tell you he's got this disorder, which is I think part of the mystery they're building in. But me being a giant nerd, I know the answer. But he's got several different famous personas.
I wonder if they would actually tie in, like, I wonder if they would actually, like, just sort of in the mental health discussion climate right now, like, will they actually call this DID? Or is it just going to be some, like, show made up mental thing? You know what I mean? Like, because he has, like, it's DID in the comics, right? Like, he is he has dissociative identity disorder. Yeah. So I'm wondering if they're going to do that in the show or if it would, like, you know what I mean? Like, if it would upset people. I don't know.
I'm not sure. It kind of depends on how the show goes, right? I mean, if he kind of takes ownership of it, and you know, if they don't treat it like it's a horrible thing,
like
a
blight, right? Yeah,
right. But yeah, I mean, he's got multiple personas. One of them's a billionaire businessman, Stephen Grant. Mark Spector is another one. Jake Lockley is a taxi cab driver. I mean, he's got like 3 different like primary personas. Yeah. I think it looks really good, to be honest. Ethan Hawke looks cool. I don't know what Ethan Hawke is doing in this trailer, but he seems like he's a cult leader, is the vibe I'm getting from when I saw him.
I'm really glad for some reason. Someone lately told me that they couldn't stand Ethan Hawke, and I thought it was you for some reason, and I thought that we were going to get in a fight about that on this actual 53rd episode of The Cynical Nerd, but it wasn't you, so I love Ethan Hawke. I'll suck his dick. 100%.
I wouldn't send him a free-for-all invite to the glory hole of grays that we have going on, but I think he's a good actor for sure. And just the last thing, along with the other like horror bits, there's a cool scene where he's in the museum at night and he's walking past glass, but his reflection doesn't move. Like there's a lot of cool like fucking with your head type of things going on. The suit looks fine. It looks like the Moon Knight suit from the comics. I mean, I always thought it looked a little goofy, but the way it like it's like wraps. It's almost like it's wrapping him up like a mummy, which is interesting because it's tied to.
I thought that was
Egyptians.
Really cool. Yeah, I actually thought that when it shows that brief little clip of it like fastening around him, I thought that was cool.
It gave me Spawn vibes, but Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like it's gonna be almost like a psychological thriller mixed with a superhero show. I mean, I don't really, we don't really know the plot, but going off of the trailer, that's the vibe they're trying to give us for sure, I think. And then there's that lovely scene of him just beating the shit out of some kind of creature in a bathroom, really looking like a vigilante, I'm looking forward to it. It comes out March 30th, so we don't have very long to wait, exactly 2 months to wait from right now. which is what I'm very much looking forward to. Next up on the trailers to talk about is the Cuphead Show. They're making a TV show based off of this game that Derek wants to torture me by playing.
Mm-hmm.
I have the game. I own it. I played like 2 hours and was like, I can't do this, and just stopped playing it.
You can do this.
This is going to be my Dark Souls. This is going to be me, just trying to get good. Derek and I have plans to try and co-op this and do some recording and maybe toss it up on the YouTube channel. We don't have a time frame or a date, and we can always try to do it sometime this week. It's just a planning thing. But yeah, shit. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the world Cuphead lives in. I can't really speak too much about it. All I can say is that the animation in this trailer matches the shit in the game perfectly. Yeah. And it looks like a lot of fun. It looks really like old timey, like old Disney cartoon type stuff. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. It looks cool. I'll watch it. Also, are you going to be Cuphead or Mugman?
Whichever one has an IUD, so I can let people come inside me. I really don't care beyond that. So,
I have a cum mug, so maybe I should be Mugman.
I think it looks incredible. I actually grew up. There was like a brief period of time where my mother was getting her master's degree when I was a kid, and so I lived with my grandma because I was an annoying piece of shit as a kid as well. That's not something that developed as an adult. And so I got carted off to grandma's for a year, and all she had was like old timey shit, like all the old cartoons, and so that's what I watched, like on VHS. And so I actually have like a weird appreciation for those old cartoons. So that's what always got me interested in Cuphead. And I'm just telling you, I had the same experience you did. Like I played it when it dropped and I got maybe not 2 hours. It was like an hour. And I was like, not for me. This isn't happening. Yeah. But it's always been this thing in the back of my head. Like I have to go back and fucking try that again. But anyway, that's about the game. The show looks great. Looks like it has really charming animation and sort of like just a vibe and attitude to it. And what's nice is I love when a show comes out that is clearly going to hold my son's attention, because that means we can watch it at the same time.
Fair.
And anything that's colorful and there's a bunch of things blowing up everywhere, he's just going to like moth lamp at it. So
right.
No, I think it looks great.
We watched Encanto last night.
Oh, dude, it's so good. That was a good
which
movie.
was so fucking charming.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's you can. With any Pixar / Disney animated film, within about 10 minutes, you should be able to discern the lesson they're going to try and teach you at the end. So when they're like, she doesn't have any powers, I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. So, I can see where we're going. But we turned it on and Grayson was like, Luca, like he's been wanting us to put on Luca again. Although he's 3, he still has like 0 attention span. So we put it on, he watches it for 5 minutes and then goes back to playing. We put on Encanto and like just put our foot down. Like me and Samantha wanted to watch it ourselves. Yeah. And he curled up with us on the couch. I don't know if he was tired or what, but he watched a good chunk of that movie, which was really cool. He was just, again, he wanted to play Switch. So I grabbed the Switch and let him play Mario Kart. He played Mario Kart for about 5 minutes and then zoned out, much like a mothlight, watching Encanto for a while. He didn't watch the whole thing, but random review. I thought it was fucking lovely. They're always lovely. Lin-Manuel Miranda did the music and songs for this, as well as for like Moana. He did that. I didn't know he did for Encanto until last night, but his songwriting style is all over that movie. Yeah. The songs are great. They're really good.
They really were. They were great. And Bruno was voiced by John Leguizamo, which I didn't realize until afterwards, which totally made sense after the fact.
Tio Bruno. Sorry.
But speaking of Luca, though, we did rewatch that, and by we I mean Mia Noden, who isn't even making memories yet, so he can't confirm. I know we reviewed it on the show back with Scott, and I think we all had kind of middling reviews on it. I don't know.
I thought we were all fairly positive.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, watching it this time, I actually liked it a lot more. I thought it was, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't in a good mood the first time I saw it, but no, it was good.
Maybe somebody told you they were going to send you to your grandmom's for a year before you watched it. I didn't know that about you. And when you said there's not a new development, I've always been annoying. That was fucking a wonderful self-dig. I'm not all about shitting on yourselves here at the Cynical Nerd. Positive self-representation, but that was fantastic. Okay, next trailer. There's a little series that we've been gushing about for ever since the podcast started called The Boys, right? Well, There's an animated show coming out. It's going to be little disconnected stories in the Boys universe with that classic R rating, but it's going to be animated. The show's going to be called The Boys Presents Diabolical. And they released a little first look, which is literally like a Looney Tunes style animation, but with, and they did this in the show once in like one scene in the flashback, but with a baby who's got powers and is just exploding heads and like blowing trucks up and shit. Seth Rogen is, and his buddy Evan Goldberg, writing partners are behind this. They've been behind this Preacher. They're behind the Boys series as a whole. I don't know if you know that or not. I mean, these guys are like, I gotta, as much as I might hate Seth Rogen's laugh, him and his writing partner have been doing a lot for the superhero genre, specifically the more adult R-rated superhero genre of the Boys and Preacher.
Did you watch Preacher?
I watched most of Preacher, and I really liked that show. Preacher wasn't as hardcore because it was on, syndicated television on AMC, but still a really like off-key, I wouldn't even call that a superhero show, but you know what I mean? Like these fantastical kind of modern day.
Read Preacher is my next question.
I own it. I never finished reading it, but I know that Garth Ennis is like Seth Rogen and his partner are in love with that guy. He's part of the reason they did The Boys. He's released a lot of cool shit. So basically what I'm saying is I'm probably going to watch this. The first look is a little silly, but it's supposed to be ridiculous in that way. They were talking about this on TV and said, like, think of like the Animatrix, like just a bunch of like shorts done by different studios told within this universe, lets people play around for a little bit. So this comes out March 4th, a couple months ahead of The Boys season 3. That's another March. This is an early birthday present for me, so you're welcome for that as well. And yeah, I mean, it looks fun. I don't want to talk anymore. Derek, how do you feel about it?
I mean, I'll watch it, but I don't really care. Like I mean, I've said it a million times. I don't want to retread it, but this is just Amazon Prime's baby, and now they're going to make all these companion shows to it, and I just don't fucking care. Like, aren't they doing one about like a super college or something? Like, who cares? Just make a fucking season of the main show. It's happening with The Witcher. I don't care. I'll check it out, of course. I'll watch anything. I'll give anything a shot, but I really don't.
Speaking of Amazon Prime's baby, I think the next thing that we're going to talk about might actually be what they're hoping becomes their baby. Derek, this is your territory. Why don't you take this away? I will say what it is, and then I'll let you talk about it. So we've known that Amazon is developing a Lord of the Rings show for Amazon Prime. Going to be called Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power. It's official title announcement. It's going to be delivered September 2nd of this year. So a little bit of a wait, 8-9 months.
That's an early birthday present from me. So you're welcome.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Very nice. This isn't a whole lot more than a voiceover and some cool graphics, but how did this tickle you? Did you get you in the grundle?
Well, so here's the thing. First of all, they got like Kmart brand Kate Blanchett to do the voiceover for the thing. Like, they were trying to like stoke my nostalgia by having like a clearly elven, wizened woman talking over it. And it's like, either get Kate Blanchett or just do something different. That just felt like that was doomed to fail. That being said, I actually, this has been in talks for years, the Lord of the Rings Amazon show, and I, for a long time, really didn't have any faith in it. I feel like I'm still sort of erring on the side of this is probably not going to be good, but as we get closer and as more information comes out about sort of the age that it's taking place in, they released that one still that was fucking beautiful. And there's actually a lot of the expanded lore that's like referenced within that one single image, which says to me that they've done their research on even the unreleased works of J.R.R. Tolkien. If anybody comes in here and says that his name is pronounced Tolkien, you can go fuck yourself. Don't fuck TCN me. I call him Tolkien until the day I die. I'm going to call him Tolkien. I don't care how it's said in German. I don't care if it's technically Tolkien. He's J.R.R. Tolkien. All right, let me get that out of the way. But clearly this is going to be about the forging of the Rings of Power, and probably about the corruption of Sauron when he was still a white wizard before he turned into the big bad that we see in the trilogy. So, I mean, I'm like, I'm not holding my breath, but we'll see. It's like I said, there's enough info here to go. All right, they're clearly doing their research. They're doing it in an interesting time period. Like, they could have done something cheap, like this takes place 15 years before, Bilbo found the ring or something. No, they went to it's thousands of years beforehand. There's just a lot of material there to work with. I don't know. Let's see. That's how I feel about it. Let's just see.
Okay. I don't really have any irons in this fire.
Got him.
Bringing it back. We don't want to overuse it. But, they're forging rings. I thought it was actually more appropriate this time. I like the Lord of the Rings. I do. I've never been a huge... It never stuck me in the way that it has stuck some people like yourself. I know of things like the Silmarillion.
Silmarillion, yeah.
Okay. Like companion pieces that help explain the origin of that universe and how everything came to be. I know that they exist. I've never read those things. I've never actually even read the original books. I've only ever seen the movies. I'm a bad nerd in that perspective. From that perspective. But look, if they could do a good fantasy series on an Amazon Prime budget, then I'm all for it. Like, give me a good fantasy series. Yeah. The Witcher has been the only fantasy series I have liked that any streaming service that like wasn't an actual movie studio has created.
That's what, the fact that you mentioned that, like, it's not perfect and people are really like book fans are still tearing the show apart. The Witcher, of course, I'm talking about. But
I don't even. It's so stupid.
It's stupid, but not only that, but it's without question the most well produced fantasy TV show that's come out since Game of Thrones. So it's like
100%.
At a minimum, at least see it for it being that, and hope that other studios like take a note out of their book. I don't know. It's not like it does everything wrong. Like, even if you don't like the direction the story's going in, people acting like it's total shit show waste of time or like, get the fuck over yourself. My God.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. But anyway, okay, so we have one more trailer to talk about, and that is something that came out in this last week that we missed, actually. I tossed it in. So we talked about the show a while ago, or at least the announcement of it, and we're all fairly excited for it. It's a show called Our Flag Means Death. This is from Taika Waititi. And he is a writing partner. I'm blanking on the name. This is coming to HBO Max directly. It's going to be a show. And the show is about a pampered aristocrat played by Rhys Darby, who was the werewolf or one of the leaders of the werewolves in the What We Do in the Shadows movie. And he's a pampered aristocrat who abandons his life of privilege to become a pirate. Taika Waititi plays Blackbeard, who we only see like for a couple seconds in the end, but he actually looks kind of fucking cool.
Yeah. Well, we see his lips, and that's about it. And that big old beard.
See his lippies. I thought the trailer looked very interesting. It's not what I expected to a T, but it still gave me a lot of promise. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna like the show a lot. It's hard to describe exactly why. Speaking of Game of Thrones, I'm so bad with actors' names right now, but there's this one larger fellow who's in this show, who's definitely from Game of Thrones. I do not remember his name. I'm so sorry. That's very rude. I'm going to look it up while Derek tells me how he feels. I feel like it's Chris with a K,
but I don't know. I'm probably wrong. No, I think it looks good. It looks like it has like sort of the
Christian Narn.
All right, I was sort of right.
Yeah, Chris with a K. Yeah, you would call him that for short.
Chris with a K. That's just who he is now.
He played Hodor. Duh.
Hodor. Yeah. No, it looks good. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's a really short clip. Like, it's not a long trailer. It just gives you kind of an idea of what the humor is going to be like. It's obviously going to be dry. That's how Taika Waititi shows always are. I like the sort of juxtaposition between having like a band of ravenous pirates led by like a smarmy aristocrat. I mean, it looks good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I would actually say, like, I don't know if filming something for HBO Max gave them more money, but it looks a lot better than some of the series he's done before. Like, it looks like they had a lot larger of a budget.
Well, he's just like everybody fucking wants him right now. Like, he's just the guy. True. So I feel like if he's attached to anything, the budget automatically is like increased by, whatever. He's just like, he was a nobody like 8 years ago. I know he's like the biggest fucking name in Hollywood. So
That's true. You're right. This is actually going to premiere in March on HBO Max, so another March baby. I don't know if they announced an actual date. I don't think they didn't. They just said March. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it quite a bit. I've between him and like James Gunn, as of right now, neither of them have done me wrong. I didn't like Guardians 2 very much, but I didn't think it was the worst fucking thing on the planet. I just didn't think it didn't hit like the first one did. Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's do it. I want to talk about main topics. Do you have to pee?
I do, but like I'm just gonna hold it. I'm just gonna be uncomfortable.
Oh shit.
Let's do it.
I want to get this film out of the way so we can talk about these shows. So we're gonna talk about Antlers first, which is a movie that we just decided randomly to watch because we had kind of mulled over watching it a couple of times in the past. This came out in 2021, directed by Scott Cooper. The famous people you would recognize are Kerry Russell and potentially Jesse Plemons if you watched Breaking Bad or any of the shit he's been in. Everyone else is kind of no name. Sorry, not being rude to you, but you are no name. The film, if you've seen the poster, you pretty much know what happens in the film. There's a monster and there's a kid, and happens in an isolated Oregon town. I don't know if I liked or disliked this movie, but I will tell you that it made me very sad. I thought this horror movie, it's a plot or a trope that certain horror movies try to do, which is where the monster is like a stand-in for a human condition. In this case, drug abuse in small poverty-stricken towns. So this is a small isolated Oregon town. It sounds like they used to have a very prosperous mine, that is no longer producing or is shut down. The town is very poor, and it seems pretty rampant that most of these kids have parents addicted to meth or otherwise stricken by drugs who are, alcoholics or abusive or all the above. Our main character, Kerry Russell, came from that background. Her character was abused physically and emotionally by her father until she ran away and is now coming back to try and do some good. Her brother's Jesse Plemons, which is fucking hilarious because they look nothing alike, but movies, who is now the sheriff because no one else wanted the job. And she's trying to come back and do some good. And the whole premise of the opening, and I promise I'll stop talking after this, is you start off kind of following this random kid, and his father something happens to him down in the mines, and he's basically infected to become this creature, this Wendigo, is that what they called it?
Wendigo,
the Native American folklore tale. I wanted to call it a Winnebago. Might have to be a thumbnail or something.
A Winnebago with the fucking antlers and claws.
I gotta write that down. But it starts following this kid, as he got you there, huh? As he has to take care of his father and then his younger brother who also gets infected. And this is where the sad part came in. This movie actually, I cried at one point because this kid, he's not a great actor, but just the idea of this kid being in the situation where he can't tell anybody what's going on, and he's trying to feed and save his dad and his brother, but he's by himself, he's alone, he's got nobody, he's dealing with all this by himself, and it just made me so fucking sad to think of kids out there that don't have their parents that have to deal with these situations, whether they are actually infected by a monster or just high on meth, asleep on the fucking couch, not making their kids food or giving them school books or clothing or, and it the whole idea, the whole weight of the allegory they're trying to make just kind of hit me while I was watching this movie, and it, it was just so devastatingly depressing for me. And I don't know. The movie was whatever. The monster was very straightforward in the end. The kills weren't particularly amazing or anything to me. Some of them were gory. The monster itself was generic, but the whole allegory to I don't know. It was just an experience. I don't think I liked it or hated it, but it happened to me. How'd you feel about Antlers, Derek?
I thought it fucking sucked. I couldn't wait for it to be done.
Okay. All right.
I really thought it was so boring. It was so slow moving. I will say this, though. I did something that I normally, like as a rule, never do for any of our topics that we cover on the show. I got really high before I watched it. So I was like really high when I watched this movie. And so like maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't know. I'll say this though. There was a point where I saw that, clearly the dad, who is the primary infected one to become the Wendigo,
Winnebago.
The Winnebago was he clearly cared for his kids, right? He had I think a meth addiction that was made clear in the beginning. They're cooking meth. But he clearly cared for his kids, and I saw that the kid was like bringing them meat, to like satiate them, whatever. And in my head, I was like, man, I think this is just an allegory for kids that have to deal with addiction and abuse in their household. I'm going down this spiral in my head, and then I was just like, nah, man, I'm high as fuck right now. And then when totally you watched it, you were like, oh, this is clearly an allegory for having a drug addict in the family. I was like, oh, shit, I got it. I nailed it.
Good job, high brain.
No, but I just didn't think, that's an interesting topic to explore, but I just don't think it was explored very well. I mean, it was
just so on the nose.
It was sad to see. I agree. Like the kid, he's like malnourished, and you're right. Like he couldn't talk to anyone, doesn't want to betray he's basically, this is how it happens a lot in families, is you have like a kid who sticks around, not because he really gives a shit about the drug addict parent, but because he's worried about the kid that's going to get hurt, like a sibling that's going to get hurt by the drug addict parent. So like all that was good, but the way it's resolved in the end, like, oh, we just killed your dad and then we killed your brother too. And that's just how it is. It was like, well, where was the fucking like metaphorical meaning in that? It was just, it was underwhelming. It wasn't a big showdown. It was just like, oh, I'll stab him for you. Don't worry. Okay.
Yeah, that was fucked up, right?
Yeah. And I just don't like, it was like needlessly fucked up. Like it just didn't, I don't know. There was nothing like thematically.
Look away.
Like, wow. Yeah.
Look away. Yeah, I'm going to go stab your brother to death, and then I'm going to adopt you, and hopefully you don't harbor any deep resentment towards me the rest of your life, right?
I killed your dad and your brother. I'm your mom now. Go to your fucking room.
Yeah. Shut up, you little shithead. Bring me some meth.
And of course they had to have fucking what's his name from Breaking Bad, cough up the black shit. So he's the new Antlers.
Yeah, don't worry. The movie hopefully did shittily enough. We'll never have to see that sequel. I like Jesse Plemons as an actor. I don't think he had anything to do in this movie. Like it was like you said, I didn't like it. I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't like it. And it just made me sad. Like the allegory made me sad. And then they ruined it at the end with CGI monsters, and the allegory no longer made any sense because they're basically telling us that we should murder all the meth head parents and just have them adopted by healthier parents that are meth heads. That's how you fix the system, boys. Heard it here first. Read 2024. Okay. Got that out of the way. So we decided to watch Archive 81. I've been hearing, before we decided to watch it, I've been hearing all over the internet about this new, it was one of those new, like under the radar Netflix shows that quickly shot up to the top 1 or 2 spots in the US. I subsequently ended up finishing the entire series because I was pretty into it. Spoiler alert. I think Derek said he was 3 or 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
I really liked this. I really liked this show. I really enjoyed it. The ending is very cool. I can't talk about that obviously unless you finish it up. I'll keep this brief, but I thought the whole premise was kind of neat because it wasn't like it was kind of a found footage thing, but the angle they used was this guy legitimately works in like a VHS like museum in New York. His whole job is restoration. He's very good at his job. He gets a call from this random company he knows nothing about to work on these tapes that were in a fire in this prominent New York apartment building. And he uncovers this cult and all this crazy shit that was happening. So, I want Derek's thoughts as quickly as possible here. I really liked this show. I liked the main character. I'll have to look up his name. I don't actually know his name. I thought he did a really good job There's a lot of layers in this show. He's got a lot of past trauma. A lot of that stuff is all relevant to the plot. And I just, I don't know. This show just got me. I guess it's the reason everybody in the US was streaming it.
Yeah.
I liked it a ton. How'd you feel about what you watched?
I would appreciate actually if we kept it pretty brief. I'll give like my basic thoughts only because I'm only halfway through and I really, really like it actually a lot.
Nice.
No, it's well done. It gives me this like almost like X-Files vibe, but there's this old podcast I used to listen to called Enter the Night Vale that was like a fake, creepy town radio show or whatever. It kind of like makes me think of that. I don't know. It just has this like it's like this fucking conflict, this like nexus of all these different eerie things. Like I feel like there's an alien abduction thing happening. There's cult shit happening. There's creepy haunted hotel shit happening. There's, found footage shit happening. It's just like this perfect. They took all these concepts and just melded them so naturally into like nothing about the show has come across as like expositional or forced. It's just cool. It's eerie as fuck. None of it is scary. It's eerie, which is better for me. I don't really care for scary. Like who gives a shit? Oh, something pops out and then you just go, it's like what's the value in that? I think it's harder to do something that's eerie and that gives you like an unsettling, like weird feeling. I'll say this, like I said, like I don't want to have anything spoiled, of course, because Veronica and I are really into the show. The only reason we didn't finish it is because we just happened to have started True Detective season 1 like a couple days before you mentioned this. So we watched the first 4 and then we were like, we should really finish True Detective before we start piling on other shows. So we finished that, which was excellent, by the way, if you haven't watched it.
Oh, it's so good. Season 1 is so good.
Yeah, and we're not watching any of the other ones. I've heard that none of them are as good, so I'm like, there's no fucking reason for me to watch them. But
I don't really remember hearing feedback about 3. I know 2 was poo-pooed on pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty hardcore. I remember, because I can't contain myself, messaging you about this show, and I think I said a lot of what you just said, which was the show has been eerie, not really scary. There's not a whole lot scary in there. There's just a lot of creepy stuff like that. But I managed to get to one point in the show where it did scare me a little bit, and I was messaging you about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fantastic show, and I'm glad that you're into it. I'm gonna butcher this guy's name, the gentleman who plays Dan Turner, Mamadou Afi. Yeah, okay.
He is a great actor, and I've never heard of him before. I've never seen him in anything, and he does a pretty good job. Everybody does. He's only been in a couple things. I mean, his filmography is not that long. He's only been in things since like 2015, so he is new to the scene for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, he's gonna be in the new Jurassic World movie, so good for him. I don't know in what capacity, but it's listed in his filmography. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I liked him a lot. Like him a lot.
Yeah.
Current tense. He's not dead or anything, I promise. Anyway, don't want to spoil it. I want you to finish it though. I very much enjoyed the ending of this show. I know with a lot of these types of shows, the like what's going on can be disappointing. It did not disappoint me, so I hope it does not disappoint you. Mm-hmm. And okay, we'll move on. Peacemaker or Boba Fett? Let's do Peacemaker because I got a lot to say about the episode 5 Boba Fett.
Okay.
Peacemaker continues to be good for me. I think it's funny. This latest episode was called Monkey Dory. I'm a sucker for a good pun, so just keep them coming, James Gunn.
Yeah, how about the one before that showed less traveled? That was really good one too.
Showed less traveled. This one we knew what was happening this episode because they foreshadowed it. The last one, they said they had found a factory that they wanted to go look at that they thought was producing this nutrient for the butterfly. I'm still not sure where the show is going, but I've very much enjoyed the ride. All the characters I love a lot. This week, seeing Vigilante a little unhinged by the fact that Economos kind of jumped in and saved the day at the end. Yeah. I like Freddie Stroma's Vigilante a lot. I think he's an interesting character. Clearly, he's got a bunch of issues like everyone else in the show. I mean, for Christ's sake, I think this episode starts off with Peacemaker at home, just kind of boozing on the porch, hanging out with this eagle. Which was actually a really touching, like 5-second scene of the eagle, like bringing him food and like hanging out with him. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he's got these plot devices called helmets that are useful every now and then. This one was X-rays, and he was able to see all the butterflies in their heads, and they just start shooting their way through this factory. In typical Peacemaker fashion, he connects a grenade to a Russian tank shell, throws that. And then there's a giant old gorilla, which people had speculated was going to be like a nod to Gorilla Grodd, but they didn't really. Besides the fact that it was a large ape talking, there wasn't really any connection there. It was just being controlled by a butterfly. Great visual effects. The gorilla looked really good.
Yeah,
like movie quality good. Especially when he got, spoiler alert, chainsawed through the chesty. Yeah, I was trying to think of a weird cum joke for that. I couldn't wrestle it from the depths of my hard soul. I don't know. I liked it. I don't really have much else to say. I continue to like this show. I continue to think it's funny. And there's so much underlying character development happening, even in these conversations where they're cursing at each other. In the beginning, he's kind of freaking out at Economos or Diebeard for framing his father and making fun of his PowerPoint. And like, it's the kind of thing where when you were younger, hanging out with your group of friends, and one of them was ragging on another past the point where it was funny, and everyone's just kind of like, oh, okay, it's just mean.
Let's rear back a little bit here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe don't bring up his deadbeat father. Oh, okay. I mean, it was a lot of that. Like, he's like, there's specifically a line I remember going, oof, where Peacemaker's like, he's like, it's so crazy how you spend so much time on this PowerPoint and how it still sucks so fucking bad.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't even care about it. He's like, yes, you did. And I was like, oh God, stop picking on him. Anyway, how'd you feel about Peacemaker episode 5?
No, it's good. I mean, from the beginning, I said, a lot of the superhero stuff, they all have the same story, right? Like, even though there's variations of it, it's the same thing. There's a bad guy, got to find the bad guy, got to beat the bad guy up, and hopefully we don't die, and that's the show. So really, what makes it good, what makes it new, and makes it enjoyable is you have to have interesting characters, and you have to have meaningful character development. And I think that the show continues to have that. One thing I will say before I get too far away from it, the only thing that really stands out from, again, we skipped a week, so episodes 4 and 5 kind of melded together in my memory. But the one part in episode 4 where Vigilante goes into jail and takes on the white supremacist.
Oh, we never get to talk about
fuckers it. Whatever he says, I can't remember. That scene was so hilarious. Good. I was man. He went from being like a C-list character to an A-list character in that one scene alone. And he continued to have that kind of, I love that he's like clearly a sociopath, but he just has this like polite charm to him. Like, he says something in episode 5 where he's like, oh, normally somebody would do something like this, but personally, I don't feel emotions. It was like really like on the nose.
Yeah. I started falling in love with him when he took the rifle from Peacemaker in like episode 2 and was like, and now for Papa Bear.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's fucked up, but like in a funny, weird way.
Yeah. So we're continuing to see that growth in these characters. I mean, obviously they're getting closer to finding the bad guy, like every one of these arcs go. But we have the from the beginning, you had Peacemaker making fun of Economos, and it was funny in the beginning. But like you said, it's getting to the point where it's kind of like, ugh, like, come on. Yeah. And then they had that bonding moment where he mentioned some Hanoi something or other, some rock band, and it turns out Economos had it tattooed on his arm. We had Harcourt actually smile at everyone and take an Ussie. Yeah, I said Ussie. Get over it. Of the whole group. Created a chat group called the 11th Street Kids, which is, just our version of horse chat, of course. No, I think that we're seeing characters come around to one another in a way that doesn't feel forced or cheesy, which is always impressive in a show when you have a limited amount of time. Which, speaking of limited amounts of time, I will say this. I am overjoyed that this is a limited series because I just think that some concepts are not sustainable for very long.
Right.
And right on the heels of, we were just talking about True Detective. We loved it all the way throughout. We loved the ending, but we were like, man, thank God it's anthological, like the seasons, because can you imagine if they tried to squeeze a season 2 out of this? Like, what's the fucking point? I think that I'm getting the same vibe from this. Like, I feel like we're reaching a point with these characters that there's a culmination that's being built to. And then once
Right.
we get there, I'm happy to just be done with it. Otherwise, I'll just get sick of them, honestly.
We're reaching critical mass, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm still enjoying it. That wasn't a criticism of the show. It's great. But I'm happy it's limited.
Yeah, it's only 8 episodes. We only have 3 more.
Yeah.
Which, no, I agree. I think it's 100% a good thing. I think Marvel and DC. Well, Marvel made all the mistakes, so DC can just learn from them.
Yeah.
What the original Netflix shows, the Daredevil shows, I loved them, but all those seasons were like at least an episode or two too long.
Yeah.
Did not need to. It got worse as they went on because Luke Cage and Jessica Jones felt like they were just stretching them out to be the same amount of episodes, when in reality they should have been like 8 episodes or 9 episodes, and then tell the story. Make sure you have meaningful growth in every episode, and if the show's only 8 episodes, it's only 8 episodes. So don't strive for some arbitrary fucking number, and then fill an episode with growth for a side character we'll never see or give a shit about again. You know what I mean,
dude? That's why. What's the other one we watched? We talked about it on the show with Kate Winslet. The one that took place in Delco.
Mayor of Easttown. 7 episodes.
Great
Weirdest
show. Like seasonal length ever. That's the exact amount of episodes it had to be. Yeah.
Man, that was a good fucking show.
It was incredible. But yeah, it's like when it's done, let it be done. It's over, you know?
I remember when Scoot was, shout out to Scooth. I remember when Scooth was talking us into watching it, and I was like, okay. And I had heard people talking about it. I was like, this isn't going to be for me. And I started watching it, and I was like, holy shit, I'm not going to be able to stop watching the show. It's fantastic.
Good. Yeah.
It was such a good show. Okay, last but not least, we would talk about the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 5, Return of the Mandalorian, a.k.a. The prologue to Mandalorian Season 2.
Yeah.
3. Is it epilogue or prologue? Which one?
That would be prologue.
Okay.
Well, no, you said Season 2, so yeah, you do mean epilogue. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like the wrap up to this is like the where things are post Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Look, I'm not going to spoil anything. I loved this episode. I thought it was fantastic. But however, I think it it was such a weird choice to put this episode in Book of Boba Fett. And maybe they did it because they were like, circumstances at the beginning of Mando Season 3 are going to be different, and we want to show people how he gets to that place in this show. But all that highlighted for me, and this is what I think a lot of people on the internet is saying, is that the Book of Boba Fett is such a worse show than The Mandalorian. Like,
the best episode of Book of Boba Fett was an episode of The Mandalorian.
By far the best episode. The pacing in this episode was fantastic. Yeah. Even the cinematography, there's a super long shot in this where he comes up the elevator, takes a bounty to a table, goes back down the elevator, goes out. I want to watch the behind the scenes to see how they managed that with those big screens that they displayed. Yeah. Like someone was showing me, they were like, oh, he gets in the elevator, then they must have had to rotate the sets behind him. So when he gets out, it looks different. As if I was like, I want to fucking see it because it looked breathtaking. Yeah. And this episode was filled with so much important information for Mandalorian, the Mandalorian, and also just the greater Star Wars universe. And it just goes to show you how much better I'm so glad that there were rumors early on that Favreau wanted to make a Boba Fett show. Lucasfilm said no, and that's why he made the generic Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. But we've gotten so much character development, and we were so invested in the Mandalorian that it felt like coming home to see him. I was like, oh, thank God Boba Fett's not in this fucking episode. There's my man. And you know what really hits home? I have a lot to say. I'm going to rant. Feel completely free to cut me off. Okay. I will go right back to it. You know what really hits home in this episode? Boba Fett has done nothing. And it's part of the reason this show is so, I wouldn't say boring. It's boring. He's Boba Fett. He's supposed to be a badass. Mandalorian is what we thought a Boba Fett show was going to be, which him being a bounty hunter, going out and killing people. Mandalorian immediately comes in doing a bounty. And he fucks those guys up in glorious fashion. And you're like, yes, my
dude,
boy's
and when
back.
he said his line, I can take you in hot or I can take you in cold. I just was like covered in goosebumps, dude. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. We've got 2 options. I can take you in hot or I can take you in cold. I'm like, fucking God damn it. I missed it so much. and just following him around, seeing what he's doing. It's just so interesting. In Star Wars tradition, they steal influence from Ringworld, popular book. Obviously, there's a little bit of Halo there, but it's not really a Halo ring. There's like an inner ring that forces a day-night cycle, which is very Ringworld. Cool. So we got so much stuff in this episode. We got cool new Star Wars locations to look at. We now know where the Enclave moved to. You got some more history about the Darksaber, and there's some cool shit they pulled in from the Clone Wars. When Sabine Wren first gets the saber, she mentioned in the comic books in the show for Rebels, she mentions the weight. And it's something they brought over to the show because the Darksaber is not a traditional lightsaber. It's built differently. And there's some mumbo jumbo about the way that it works. That it's like, if you're not clear headed and in the right space, if you're not moving with the weapon in like a dance almost, then the weapon, it's like you're out of sync with it or something. It's heavy. It's hard to wield. It gets heavier as you go. And they pulled that, and it's with such love that like Dave Filoni does this lore and this Mandalorian backstory. And the Darksaber is originally made by the Vizsla clan. The first ever and only Mandalorian / Jedi was pre-Vizsla. In this one we have Paz Vizsla, voiced by Jon Favreau, the big guy who we've seen.
Oh, was that Favreau, really?
Yeah, it's Favreau.
Oh, wow.
Who we've seen he was in the first season of Mando. They helped him get off that planet, the shootout and everything. And he has as is Mandalorian tradition, anyone can challenge the wielder of the Darksaber in combat to take it. Because they're this warrior knight type religion. And he does and loses, and Mando gets to keep it, and then he also gets ostracized at the same time. It's like win-lose. Because we've come to this before, but Mandalorian is part of a pretty religious, like hardcore sect of their culture, which is that if you ever take your helmet off, or if someone takes it off for you, you're fucking out.
Did they take the Darksaber back from him?
No, they did not. He still has it.
He still has it. Okay.
He is the rightful owner because he beat Paz Vizsla in combat. However, they basically called him an outsider, apostate, immediately when they found out he had taken his helmet off. And I think they gave us what's going to be the at least beginning arc for Mandalorian season 3. They basically said some kind of waters in the caves beneath Mandalore, or something about those waters is supposed to redeem. I don't know. I'm not super familiar with that particular thing, but sounds like he's going to be heading there. And then holy shit. And I swear to God, this is the last thing before I let you talk. And again, chime in whenever you want. I can't stop. I remember mentioning to you, I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out right now. I think I said geeking out, which makes me sound like way worse of a human being. Cause like the phrase geeking out is just really just for piss poor, like 15-year-olds.
Yeah. It's inherently
with
just
with just no vocabulary. Yeah. I was freaking out because, oh man, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. He goes back to Tatooine to get a ship from this. I forget her name. It's the comedian that's been playing his kind of like his
mechanic
gearhead. Yeah, his mechanic. And she didn't annoy me in this one as much as she did in like the Mandalorian season. I actually think I was like, ugh, every time she was on screen because it felt slapsticky, but this worked for me for some reason. She says she's got a ship for him, and I'm not going to, bury the lead. It's a fucking Naboo starfighter. It's an N1 Naboo starfighter. And I was like, oh my fucking God, are you kidding me? I lost my shit because all I ever want from Star Wars is to like do fan service, but don't be so blatantly fan servicey about it. Like this ship shows up out of nowhere. One had any
a hell of a callback though. That's not like that's beyond. I don't know. I don't think that's fan service. That's like you're going back to the prequel era, which for some reason people pretend doesn't exist, like in universe, which I don't understand. Right. Veronica and I were saying when we saw that the prequel era is like aesthetically our favorite era of Star Wars. Like the sort of architecture and the way the ships look and everything, that's, I don't know, it's the most like aesthetically pleasing to me. So the fact that they brought that back when most of like the new material ignores that the prequels even exist was like huge boner time for me.
And I mean, just watching a current Star Wars property acknowledge the prequels in that way.
Yeah.
And of course, childhood memories abound. I mean, I had toys of that ship. I've flown that ship in multiple video games, and they bring up a lot of history about that craft that is something that previously you would only find in the Star Wars encyclopedia, but it's true. Like those ships were, kind of heralded amongst the pilot field because they were hand built by the Naboo engineers. They were hand built, custom. Starships weren't designed that way even back then. They were not put together by people. They were put together by droids and factories. Mm-hmm. And they were the equivalent of like a hot rod. I mean, they were souped the fuck up. They had their own hyperdrive engines. They didn't need rings. She mentions this in the show. I mean, there's a lot of cool facts about this ship and just the love and attention. And can we just say, it's so crazy that someone had the vision to not only bring the ship back, but realize how perfect it would look for him if they just chromed it up and put some cool weapons on it. I was like, oh my, when I pulled it out of the fucking hangar, I was like, holy shit, that thing looks so rad, dude. Yeah. It looks so gnarly. Watching him fly it was a fucking treat. I mean, talk about callbacks. She sends him to Beggar's Canyon. They literally pass the off-ramp in the episode 1 where they're racing pods.
Yeah.
There's an off-ramp where someone flies up off of. I forget who it was. They passed that fucking off-ramp. And then he punches it and takes it to outer space. And he mutters his phrase, Dank Ferric, which is basically like, fuck yeah, Mandalorian. Yeah. I don't know. It was so much fun. I didn't care too much for the X-Wing pilot callback again.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. But watching him fucking ghost those two and not even be going into hyperspace was like, holy shit, this thing is fucking fast.
Yeah.
I think she said something like 2 times faster than the OG. I mean, they added a whole other engine under the body. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking sick to see this episode hit so many Star Wars checkboxes for me, which is like bringing back shit from the prequels, showing us badass new locations, like more lore about the Darksaber and the Mandalorian culture. This episode was fantastic, and it serves 2 purposes. One, to show us where he's at before he helps out Boba in season 3, and also to remind us that the Mandalorian is a far superior show.
Yeah. Well, here's like you said everything that I could say about the episode. It was an excellent episode. I hate to sound like a called it guy, but at the end of the 4th episode, they're like, we're going to need some muscle. And then the Mandalorian theme plays. So I had assumed that the next episode was going to at least start with, what's his name? Din Djarin or something.
Din Djarin, yeah. But you didn't expect the whole episode.
I did not expect just a guest episode of The Mandalorian, and it was great. It was really great, actually. And the whole time, everything we're saying, that's what Veronica and I were saying. We're like, this just goes to show you what a superior show it is. That like this is the first episode this whole season. Not that it hasn't improved over time, but like that this was the first one that we've been like honed in on everything that's happening. But the only thing I'll mention, the only negative I'll mention, which is not about the episode itself, but it's about my same criticism of the MCU, which is that everything is so fucking interconnected that you have to watch and consume and eat up every single piece of side story to get the full picture of everything. And that's how they design it intentionally, so that you feel like you're missing out when you skipped this show, but you watch this one and they reference something from the other show.
That's a good point.
So clearly by the time, like if I had gone, 2 episodes in, I'm done with Boba Fett, and then picked back up on The Mandalorian, I'd be like, wait, what? Like I'd have no fucking idea what's going on. So that means I have to watch all this shit, which is just exhausting to me, because if they come out with a show that I don't like, I would like the freedom to just go, well, I don't want to watch this. But if they're going to keep like crossing over into each other's storylines, it's like, what fucking choice do I have? That's right. The only thing I'm worried about. The episode itself was nearly perfect. I have nothing bad to say about it. I loved it. How many episodes do we get of Book of Boba Fett?
There's only 2 more.
Oh, okay. So we're getting to the end of just about everything here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next episode is the penultimate.
Right.
I actually agree with you about the interconnectivity, because this wasn't like a cool expansion on his story. This was basically required reading. Like it felt like maybe they'll make some quick reference to it at the beginning of 3, so it's not mandatory. But like if you really like The Mandalorian and want to consume all of The Mandalorian, you have to go watch this episode.
Yeah.
There's so much cool shit that happened. And like you said, I mean, it's the episode starts with Mando, and I had everyone basically assumed he was coming back because his theme sort of played in the end of the last one. And they're talking about getting help. I kept waiting for it to cut back to Boba. Like it's like 10 minutes in, I'm like, okay, I was sick opening for Mando. All right, we're going back to Boba. And then even at the end when they're working on the Naboo starfighter, they're like, okay, this thing needs a lot of work. I'm like, oh, okay, so the next time we see him, it'll be done.
Yeah.
And no, they fucking finished the whole thing. And I just, man, I keep saying it's such a good episode, but it was such a good fucking episode.
No, it was.
I'm just trying to verify this is going to be 7 episodes. Yep, 7. So that was episode 5. We only have 2 more. At the end of it, he sounded like he said he was going to go see Grogu before going to help Boba. Does that mean we're going to see Grogu? Are they going to show us that? Or is it just going to jump forward and he's going to be with Boba Fett and they're not going to talk about that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Based off of how much they showed us of him in this episode, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. What if it's just his show now? They're like, all right, we tried.
Yeah.
We're going to finish this up with some Mando episodes.
We had a contingency plan because we weren't sure if you guys were going to like Boba. So it's just the rest of this is just Mando. We'll have him come back in at the end. I mean, it really does. And again, I know I'm done here in a second because we're just scratching at the same post here, but it really does highlight the problems with the Book of Boba Fett. The show looks good. Some of the characters could be interesting if they were given enough stuff to do, but it's like we're watching who was supposed to be like the most feared bounty hunter in the entire galaxy just try to like run a criminal empire, but he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
He's talked to a lot of people. He's tried to intimidate a lot of people. He's gotten into fights, but he didn't start any of them. He's not doing anything cool. And I know that's such like a caveman Neanderthal way to look at it, but like,
it's not when you're talking about Boba Fett though, which the whole thing for 40 fucking years, all he had was that he was cool. He didn't do anything. He didn't actually he had no growth, no backstory. He was just cool. He's the opposite now. Like there's no cool whatsoever. And it's all just fucking exposition. It's like
that's what I'm saying.
Has to fucking happen with this guy.
I feel like the fact that they made Mandalorian, they poured all their cool Boba Fett ideas into that. I feel like, because that's what he is. Mando is just a fucking cool character. He's a cool fucking dude. He comes in, he doesn't fuck around. He will destroy an entire fucking group of dudes, get his bounty. But he also has character growth and development and a loving relationship with Grogu. And I just, I feel like the Mandalorian, they wanted their cake and they wanted to eat it too. Like, I feel like they were just like, I've always wanted to make a Boba Fett show. Let's make one. And hopefully it teaches them a lesson of like, not every idea that you have is going to be as great as you think it will be.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that goes for everything, but whatever. All right. We've rambled enough about the Book of Mandalorian. All right, we're done. This is a quick running time. It's only we're an hour and an hour and a half.
Sub 90 here,
sub 90s. We'll have more to talk about next week. We'll have Peacemaker 6 again. We'll if Boba Fett's interesting, we'll talk about it. If it's not, we'll wait till the finale. It's the penultimate episode. I have to imagine it will be somewhat
probably
interesting.
Something will go on. It's worth talking about. Yeah, I would hope.
We'll probably chit chat about it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch
Swiss Army Man.
And I think we're done for the week here. Any parting wishes? Any goodbyes you want to say?
I just hope you have a great week. I think about you often.
Wait, me or the listeners?
Oh, you. No, fuck the listeners.
Oh, okay, yeah. Fuck those guys. We didn't shill because we had no breaks, but you can check us out at Facebook at facebook.com/thecynicalnerd. On Twitter at thecynicalnerd. If we said anything stupid, you can hashtag #FuckTCN. If you just want to chat with us, ask us a question, our opinions or topics about something, hashtag AskTCN. I am going to obligatorily check the email before we go, just in case I don't miss anything. Mm-hmm. But it's usually pretty empty in there.
In the meantime, you can find me on Twitter and soon Twitch as well at Dr. Gloom MD. That's DRGLOOMMD. I am going to start streaming again soon. Certainly for Elden Ring, but I was thinking of doing a couple warm-up streams of this or that before then. I don't know what. But I actually do, I have some free time. Might as well dick around online with it, I guess.
I'm going to put mittens on you while we podcast next time so you can't fuck with your mic constantly.
Sorry. It's like a nervous tick. Like I don't know. It's just a thing.
I just happened to notice you doing it while you were talking, and I'm like, smack your wrist. I forgot to mention it earlier. I bought God of War on PC because I couldn't hold out any longer. Holy shit, it looks so good.
Yeah, it does.
And oh my God. The father-son moments hit extra hard. I didn't have a son when I played it, I don't think.
You know what's so weird? Like when you said that to me the other day, like, oh, now that I have a kid, it's punching a lot worse. I'm like, damn, he didn't have Grayson yet. I'm like, oh yeah, that came out like 5 years ago.
Did it? I actually don't remember. He was either super duper tiny or didn't exist yet. Let me see.
It was maybe 4 years ago.
Oh no, yeah, no, he wasn't alive yet. This came out April 20th, 2018, so he was not born yet. He was born 7 months later, 6-7 months later, in December of 2018, and today he made the most horrible looking snow angel I've ever seen, and it was hilarious.
And you had to congratulate him on it though.
Yeah,
you can't tell him it sucks.
He laid back, but didn't want to lay back all the way, so like his head was up. So it was literally like a foot angel. Like he was like, he's super hilarious. Anyway,
my son
we're
pissed
rambling
all over his own stomach the other day. That's pretty much the only story I have with him.
Has he ever hit himself in the face?
I don't think so. I don't know about face, but chest, neck, tummy. Oh yeah, big time.
Grayson has pissed directly into his face. At least one time. I don't know if it's ever happened to Samantha. It definitely happened with Daddy. Where you go to what was the Ron input?
We'll open with that next week.
Where you get the diaper off and you go to grab a new one, and in the time between opening it up and grabbing a new one, he's peeing, and it's like literally like hitting him, like it's like pulled in his eye, and I'm like, oh no, at least it's sterile. Let me clean you up. Okay, God of War is fantastic. Holy shit, it looks so good. I'm playing that to distract myself until Dying Light 2 comes out February 4th. I've already pre-ordered that game. Along with Elden Ring next month. I as well will be going back to streaming, I think coming right up here on Dying Light 2. So probably next week when Dying Light 2 officially releases, I'll be back up. I've started my official meal kit senders, so it's like official diet time. Nice. I did like a trial run this week with meal prepping some stuff. Holy shit. I don't know. I'm still rambling. All right. I love you. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at TCN Plays.
Talking to me.
Yeah, I was talking to Ron. Move out of the way. I can't see it. You can Twitch and Twitter at TCN Plays. I'll be streaming again sometime next week. I have some surprises when I come back. Hopefully I have them finished before I come back. Some changes to channel points and stuff like that. And we'll probably be streaming Dying Light 2 and then I don't know, something in the middle until Elden Ring comes out, because video games should not take you 3 weeks to complete. That's it. I'm going to stop talking. I've been talking a lot.
And that's the end of the episode. And right when I say end, that's when it happens.
End.
I have to pee so bad. I am out of here. I will put this in Dropbox. I love you. You're beautiful. I love the way you've trimmed your facial hair. Looks very good. A lot more gray coming in, but it's working for you. The more gray, the better, I say. All right? Have a great night. I love you.